Hey there and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today's video, we are going to be doing another 2022 NFL mock draft. If you do enjoy NFL mock draft content, this is the place to subscribe. So go ahead and pause the video, go hit that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and jump right into the video. At pick number 1, projected is the Detroit Lions. Detroit obviously needs a quarterback. They need a lot of help on defense yet. Their offensive line is coming together pretty nicely, but they have a couple of things that they need to address. So at the very start, you might be thinking Spencer Rattler or Kayvon Thibodeau, but it's really tough between these two because do you want the franchise quarterback or do you want the best defender in the entire NFL draft? For me personally, I think it's crucial for them to go ahead and take Spencer Rattler. I think that Detroit needs a franchise level quarterback. I don't think Jared Goff gives that to them. I think they are going to be ready to move on from him after this season, and they'll likely trade him after the year concludes. At number 2, we have the Houston Texans. Houston was a little weird this year. Their very first pick of this last draft was Davis Mills, a quarterback from Stanford. Maybe they believe in him. Maybe they are just looking for a guy for this season. And it's really tough at 2 for them not to take a quarterback. In my opinion, I think they have to look at that quarterback spot. I don't think Davis Mills is going to get the job done, especially with what he's got around him. So let's consider that. He might struggle mightily. Maybe they'll give up on him after 1 year. I think that's what's going to happen. So I think they will be going with Sam Howell from North Carolina. Definitely gives you a long-term steady quarterback option. Howell could be the first quarterback taken. Him or Rattler, it's going to be a close 1-2 competition for the QB1 in this class. At number 3, we have Jacksonville. Jacksonville is going to be looking corner in this class. I think they also will be looking edge defender as well. They could possibly look at that safety spot in addition, maybe tackle. So there's a lot of different things that they can do, but it's hard not to take the best defender in the entire class. And Thibodeau, I think he would be the selection here. I really like the idea of Derek Stingley Jr. going to Jacksonville at 3, but I see Thibodeau as the selection. That defense is going to start to rebuild kind of to that 2017 form that they once had. At number 4, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to kind of depend on what happens with Jalen Hurts this year, but I think they're best suited to look at that corner spot. You have obviously a top 3 player in the class here. You're only at number 4, so you better be taking a stud here. Derek Stingley, really good in man. I think he's going to have an awesome year once again. Stingley is the best corner in the draft, in my opinion, and it's really not close to this point for the knowledge that we have heading into this next year. But Stingley, outstanding man-to-man corner, can really help out Philly's back end in that secondary. We're going to have him go there. At number 5, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. This would have been a nice place for them to take a tackle on Evan Neal. See, I think that makes a lot of sense for them. But the problem is you took Jackson Carman this year. So I don't think they are going to use that pick on a tackle. I don't think they're going to take a wide receiver either. I think Kyle Hamilton could make some sense, pair him with Jesse Bates. I think that would be a dangerous safety tandem. Him or Christian Harris. Christian Harris is going to be likely the best linebacking prospect heading into 2022. So I think he could make some sense as well. It's tough. Hamilton or Christian Harris. I think I want to go with Kyle Hamilton here. Pair him with Jesse Bates in that secondary. That could be a dangerous tandem. Arguably could be the best tandem in all of football for Cincinnati. At number 6, we have the New York Jets. They definitely want to beef up that offensive line. I think that Elijah Vera-Tucker can play tackle. He can play guard. But if they opt to go with another tackle, that offensive line could be creeping into that top 5 in the league territory if you want to head and address it with Evan Neal. I think that very well could be an interesting possibility. Obviously, they made some moves in the offseason, got Lawson as an edge defender. So that kind of takes out the need for a guy like Drake Jackson. But the New York Jets definitely have to consider another offensive line. Just keep building that O-line for Zach Wilson. Now, a lot of people are going to think this is kind of crazy to go another tackle here at this point. But for the New York Jets, this makes a lot of sense. I mean, you put Elijah Vera Tucker, who's going to be an absolute stud at that guard position, and then you have Evan Neal at the tackle spot, Mekhi Becton at the other tackle spot. It's going to be tough to really get to the quarterback. And Zach Wilson is very elusive in the pocket. He can do a lot of things with his legs. So Evan Neal is the pick. Jet fans might not be happy, but you're building yourself towards that top 5 offensive line level with that selection. At number 7 here, we have the New York Giants. New York Giants could look edge, could look, it's tough to see them because they just took a wide receiver this year. Maybe they go DeMarvin Leal as well. They could also look at that corner range. I think for them, it makes a lot of sense also to go with Christian Harris. I think he's the best defender left on the board right now. New York is just continuing to build that defense. Daniel Jones has some nice weapons to work with on offense. I think maybe you come back to the defensive side of the ball and go with a guy like Christian Harris. That makes a lot of sense to me for the New York Giants. At number 8, you have the Atlanta Falcons. Once again, I think it's very, very crucial for them in their rebuild to go on the defensive side of the football. I think Arthur Smith's going to do a nice job on the offensive side of the ball. You might be thinking, are they going to go quarterback? I don't know. I mean, if we look at the quarterback spot as it sits right now, Malik Willis from Liberty has been gaining a ton of traction. So has Slovis from USC. But I'm going to go ahead and opt for Drake Jackson, the best edge defender that's in 2022. They need to continue to build that defense, make that a focus. Arthur Smith's going to do a really nice job with that offense, pretty much regardless of personnel. So I like Drake Jackson here. At number 9, we have the Denver Broncos. You got to think long-term, what is Von Miller's future? We had some discussions about that already. I think that they are also looking at that edge spot potentially. You're going to have to pair somebody with Bradley Chubb once again. I think Zach Harrison is the next guy to go, just considering they have to consider long-term. What is Von's future? Do we know if he's going to be a Bronco or not? I don't know. So that makes it tough. I think you have to kind of hedge yourself and be prepared for a Von Miller departure if that happens. So Zach Harrison here at 9. Number 10, we have the New York Giants once again. And this is from the trade with the Chicago Bears where they picked up that extra first. So once again, they could be looking defense. They could be looking corner. It's hard not to see them maybe even going offensive line. I mean, they could go guard and really start to build out that offensive line. Obviously, they took Andrew Thomas before. Also, Matthew Pert is another tackle that they do have on the roster. I think it'd be beneficial for them to look on the offensive side of the football. They've already got some playmakers and some weapons for Daniel Jones, but let's open up the running lanes a little bit. Kenyon Green from Texas A&M is going to be the pick here at 10. At number 11, we have the Washington football team. Now this is where I think you could see another quarterback go. Washington has been very patient waiting for their next franchise quarterback, and this could be it. Malik Willis has gained so much traction. He's a phenomenal prospect. If he wasn't playing at Liberty, I think he might be higher in people's opinions, but Malik Willis is going to be the pick. Washington has to make sure that they don't neglect the quarterback position too long because this team is ready to go. They're a quarterback away from being really, really, really competitive. So at number 11, I have Malik Willis from Liberty going. At number 12, we have Las Vegas. And it's kind of tough with Las Vegas. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do. They might have to, try to rebuild that offensive line. Obviously, they took Leatherwood in the first round this year. I think once again, they're going to kind of reconfigure that offensive line. I'm kind of looking at what else is out here. I mean, I don't know if they would take another wide receiver at this point. Obviously, they had taken Henry Ruggs, but Garrett Wilson is a nice player at this point. Maybe they go Kyer Elam from Florida. I think Elam could make some sense here in that secondary that already has Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen. It's tough to see them go another corner. I think you need to continue to rebuild your offensive line, but the problem is, you have Colton Miller as well on top of it. For me personally, I could also see them going with DeMarvin Leal, who has slipped just a little bit in our mock draft. I think we're going to go Leal here at number 12. They had a lot of issues last year getting to the quarterback, especially on the interior of their defensive line. Leal can, really provide a little bit of pass rush along with, some run stuffing on top of it. So I like at number 12 going with Leal to the Raiders. At 13, we have the Carolina Panthers, who, they've done a really nice job building out their roster. They got Terrace Marshall, which that was an absolute steal on top of it. So I don't know if they have that need necessarily at the wide receiver spot. I could also see them going with corner. I think Elam, this is kind of his chance to go at number 13. They've done a nice job building out that defense. They focused a lot of their draft picks on doing so. Oh, it's very tough. Oh, because obviously they took JC Horn this year too. You know what? I still like that. I still think you pair Elam and Horn. That corner room is looking really, really rock solid if you do take Elam still. Obviously they took Horn, really high upside prospect, but Elam comes right back at 13. Carolina continues to build that defense. So they basically double down on corner back-to-back years, but that's okay. I think there's value in doing so. You can never have enough good corners in this league. At 14, we have the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings could potentially be looking at some wide receivers that are on the board. They could also look for an edge at this point. I think that makes some sense. They could also look at safety. So Chris Olave makes some sense. Now, we have to remember Adam Thielen's age right now, right? I mean, he is past the 30 mark. I'm not exactly sure. I think he's 31, 32 as it stands right now. I believe he's 31, but it could make some sense for the Minnesota Vikings to prepare to have another, stud wide receiver alongside Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen can primarily work out of the slot at that point in his career. You can get a true deep threat in Chris Olave. That's where I'm going to have them go. I considered edge for this. I considered safety, but with the value of having Chris Olave here at 14, I was very happy to get that for the Vikings. At 15, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona definitely could be looking at that edge spot. Maybe they want to continue to build that offensive line as well. They didn't address that running back spot. They do have James Conner, who they did sign. I could also see them maybe potentially going safety. Let's see what else is still on the board. Oh, Weidermeyer from Texas A&M is still here. They could use a tight end. I think that Cliff Kingsbury would really consider a tight end at this spot. Steve Keim as well. I think that I'm going to go with Weidermeyer. I know it's a little early for a tight end at that spot, but they definitely could use a tight end in that offense. I mean, they've done a nice job building out that entire offense, but you go ahead, you get yourself a nice pass-catching tight end at 15. At 16 here, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's time to start thinking about the future. Ben Roethlisberger, this very well could be his last year. I think you go Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, just considering that Big Ben is old. I don't think that he's going to be back next season. You have to have a quarterback in play. Mason Rudolph is not the answer. Josh Dobbs is not the answer. So you go ahead and take Ridder from Cincinnati. I think, once again, people are going to be pushing him up their boards. He decided not to come out this year, and that could be a very, very good decision because he was thought to be a second-round pick this year. Now he plays himself into that top 16. At 17, we have the New England Patriots. New England definitely needs a wide receiver. It's hard to not see them go with Wilson or Burks here. See what else is still on the board for them, but you have to go wide out if you are New England. I'm going to have Treylon Burks here from Arkansas go. They have to be prepared. Obviously, Julian Edelman's retirement is tough. N'Keal Harry has not worked out for this team. Jacoby Myers, he's definitely, he's a solid receiver, but you need to have more consistent weapons for your quarterback, Mac Jones, who is the quarterback of the future for them. At 18, we have the Chargers, and the Chargers present an interesting pick here. They have a really good roster holistically. I think there's a lot to like about them. I like what they did in the draft. I'm thinking about their roster as a whole. I don't know if they believe in Nazir Adderley anymore. I'm not sure where they kind of sit. A little bit of inconsistency. He's had some injuries. So maybe they'd look at a Bubba Bolden here in that secondary. They also could look at that corner spot as well. I'm not completely ruling that out. I think it also makes sense. Carla Fitz could be an option here. I think that's where we're going to go. It's kind of tough. I think I'm going to go him here, just considering the absence of Melvin Ingram. They weren't, necessarily super motivated to do that. They kind of like what they had depth wise at the position. So for at 18, I think that makes some sense for the Chargers. You got to replace Melvin Ingram long term. Who knows who that may be, but at this point, I think at 18, you have to go with the kid out of Purdue at the edge spot. At number 19, we have the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys might have to be replacing the wide receiver position. Michael Gallup could be gone after this year. I also think it makes some sense to continue to build that secondary. I'm going to have Bubba Bolden go here. You need another safety. Obviously, I think that losing Xavier Woods was tough, but long-term, you have to have some options. I know they brought in some guys, but I think Bubba Bolden long-term will really work out for this team. I love that selection here at number 19. At 20, we have the Philadelphia Eagles once again. They have some tough decisions that they got to make. Kind of looking holistically where it makes sense for them to go. With their prior pick, we had them go with Derek Stingley. That is correct. So now at 20, you've got your corner. You could be looking. It's tough because they drafted Devontae Smith. They also could use some help on that offensive line once again. Maybe Charles Cross can be a versatile guy that could play guard and tackle for them. I think that makes some sense here at number 20. The Philadelphia Eagles historically really strong up front, especially the last couple of years, and they have to be prepared for some changes. If some cuts, have to be made, they're pretty tough. They're pretty tight up against the cap right now as it stands because they had to really eat that Carson Wentz contract, unfortunately. At 21, we have the Tennessee Titans, and the Titans present an interesting thing here because they could look at corner. They did take Caleb Farley this year, so I'm not sure if that's, if they'd be willing to go there, but it's tough. I mean, I could really see Garrett Wilson fitting in very nicely in this Tennessee offense. I think that's where we're going to have them go. You're going to have A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson catching some passes. Obviously, they're going to look to address tight end. I just don't think right now is the time to do that. So I like that at 21. At 22, you have the Indianapolis Colts. I think that they are going to go offensive line. They historically like to take offensive linemen. So we're going to have Zion Nelson from Miami of Florida, going at 22. 23, we have the New York Jets once again, just with another first-round pick from the Jamal Adams deal. So we have to kind of look before we have them go Evan Neal. It's tough not to have them go with an edge. Maybe they go with Sevyn Banks. I think Sevyn Banks makes some sense. They need some help in that corner room as a whole. They're still trying to reconfigure that secondary. So Sevyn Banks is going to be the pick out of Ohio State. At 24, we have the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans is in a weird position once again. They have to figure out what they are going to do salary cap wise. I mean, they did a nice job getting under the cap, but at this point, it's tough because you don't have a quarterback that you truly believe in right now. I think Slovis could be a guy that slowly rises up on people's boards. I think he's a little undervalued here as the 37th overall prospect. I think he plays himself into a possible top 20 pick when the draft actually comes. We're going to have Slovis go here. This is under the assumption that they have some issues with Jameis Winston. They have Ian Book on the roster. They also have Taysom Hill. So I like Slovis at 24. At number 25, we have the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland, they're kind of in an interesting spot. See, they have Jadeveon Clowney opposite of Myles Garrett, but long-term, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to have Kingsley go here. Enid Bear from South Carolina, the edge defender, he's going to be the guy opposite of Myles Garrett because I think this was more of a short-term thing with Cleveland going with Jadeveon Clowney. So at 25, they are going to look edge defender. At 26, we have the Miami Dolphins. Miami, obviously, they did a really, really nice job building out this roster. I'm trying to think holistically. They took Jalen Phillips this year. Also, they took Jalen Waddle. So I don't see them going wide receiver. I mean, maybe they could look offensive lineman. I think Rasheed Walker makes some sense here. Maybe Linderbaum from Iowa could make some sense to slot at that center position. Maybe that's where we're going to have them go. We're going to have them go Linderbaum. Miami's doing a really good job, addressing both sides of the ball. I think it's important to have a guy that can play interior offensive line. He can also play guard in addition to center. So you have a lot of options with him. At 27, we had the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore obviously took Rashad Bateman this year, which was really, really big for them. They also took Odafe away at that edge spot. So now they have to kind of look outside of that and see the best players available. I mean, they could look safety. I could see Jordan Battle being in play here. Maybe Perry and Winfrey. But I think Jordan Battle probably makes the most sense at 27. Now we have the Detroit Lions once again. They took Spencer Rattler. They have to go ahead and get a wide receiver. I think John Mechie could be the pick, or Justin Ross. Both of those guys are a little valued in these rankings, and I'm pretty sure both of them will probably go higher than where we have them going here. Justin Ross is going to be the pick at this selection. Justin Ross, phenomenal talent. I think definitely could be a top 20 player when it's all said and done heading into the draft next year. At 29, we have the Green Bay Packers. I think it's crucial that once again they go wide receiver, whether it's for Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love. We're going to have John Mechie the third going here at 29. At 30, we have the Buffalo Bills. I think this is when they get their talented running back in Isaiah Spiller. One of the better players that was still available on the board due to positional value. He fell a little bit, but Buffalo does a nice job in playing the waiting game on the running back because they get the best running back in the class at 30. At 31, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it makes some sense for them to prepare. It's tough because I think they could use another rotational edge in this grouping here. They could also look, well, they did take Joe Tryon this year, so I'm interested to kind of see how they utilize him, but they could also look at that tackle spot and replace Donovan Smith long-term. We're going to have Rasheed Walker going here from Penn State. I think that makes sense for the Buccaneers long-term, just in case the whole Donovan Smith thing doesn't work out. You go ahead and select Rasheed Walker as your tackle of the future. 32, Kansas City. Kansas City can go a lot of different ways. I think they're in a good position almost pretty much no matter where they go. I could see Ahmad Gardner being a good pick, good value pick here. Should have won a couple of picks ago, very likely, but Ahmad Gardner is the final pick of this first round. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys in our next video.